Welcome back, everyone, to another interview from the Draw Control podcast. On today's episode, I'm joined by Vanderbilt women's lacrosse player Brooke Baker. Brooke, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, and how is everything going?
It's great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, how was your fall semester and your off season overall, and did you do anything interesting, whether it was lacrosse related or not?
Yeah, so we actually, as the Vanderbilt women's lacrosse team, had the opportunity to go to Fort Campbell in Kentucky. It's a military base, and we do some leadership groups with a general, and so we've been really lucky to go there, and we were challenged physically and mentally as a group. So it helped us really gain a better understanding of our leadership, our limits, and it was a really great team bonding. Um, opportunity, especially with some new guys coming in.
That's awesome to hear. What were some of the drills that you guys did, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so one of them was how many human pyramids you could make within a certain time, and no one could talk, and you had to nominate one leader in that group to, strategize for you. And so no one else could really say anything. You just had to go with what the leader was telling you and work together in a sense of, how many human pyramids could we make together. It was pretty fun.
That's awesome. And like you said, good team bonding, especially with some of the new players showing up on your team. Now, getting to some of the on the field stuff, how would you evaluate your team's performance during fall ball, and how do you think that's going to translate for the upcoming spring season?
Yeah, so we were extremely competitive this fall, and I think that's just a testament to our culture. We're the type of team to bring 110% to every drill and every practice. And so I think that's going to really show through with our season this spring. I think we have some new talent coming in as well, and we have some great returners. And so I think we're going to be a team that's a little bit underestimated. And I think that's what makes it such an exciting final year for me, is because I'm so grateful to be a part of that team, and prove people wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And like you mentioned, you are a grad student this year. So, what type of leadership do you want to bring towards the team? Would you consider yourself more of a vocal leader or lead by example type of player?
I think when I first got here last year, I was definitely more of a lead by example type of player, just because, I was new and I wasn't ingrained into the culture yet. I'm the type of player to stay after and shoot, get extra reps in. And so I was just doing that, and naturally more girls started to join in, and we've created group bonding that way. And so I would say last year, definitely lead by example, but now that I have a season under my belt, um, I would consider myself a bit more vocal, helping in with the new guys, and getting everyone locked in for the season.
Now, how have the new players in your team looked so far on the field, and how have they adapted to your team's culture and system?
Yeah, I mean, I think they look very confident. We got some great grad students coming in from top programs, as well as some undergrad guys, and so I feel like everyone's looked very confident. We've meshed very well through fall, and I think that is a testament to our culture. Is we're very welcoming, but we're extremely competitive. So when you come in, you got to play your best lacrosse, and it ultimately elevates our entire team's competitive fire and makes us better as a unit.
Now, what are your team's goals and expectations for the upcoming season? Have your team sat down and thought about that, or is it something that you sort of just take game by game and not really focus too much on the big picture?
Yeah, I mean, we sat down in the fall and we were like, we want to win the AAC conference tournament and ultimately get a bid into the NCAA tournament. With the progress that we made last year, we feel that we can keep building on that. And I mean, that's a hard set goal for us, specifically looking forward to the spring.
Now, is there any individual goals that you might have for the upcoming season? Obviously, it's your last year, so I'm curious if there's anything you want to sort of do your final year to sort of leave your college lacrosse career on a high note.
Yeah, so I think with last year, I kind of flew under the radar in the AAC as a transfer. And given my play last year, I want to be one of the top players on everyone's scouting report. And I want to help lead this team to our goal of the AAC conference championship. Um, yeah, I mean, I want people to scout me, and I think they will, given last year. But I want to be able to play a role on the field when I am scouted. I want to still be able to make an impact to others on the field as well. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be able to be scouted, obviously, but working in to hone in my skills in other forms of contribution and ultimately help the team become very successful.
Now let's take it back now and talk about the beginning of your career. So, doing research on yourself, it says that you're from Raleigh, North Carolina. Talk about growing up there and how'd you start playing lacrosse?
Yeah, so I started playing lacrosse probably in about third grade. I have an older brother, and he played lacrosse. So naturally, as the second sibling, I said, anything you can do, I can do better. So that's where I pretty much started. He was my inspiration there. And then being from Raleigh, we really only had one option in terms of club teams. So joined the local club team and, started playing competitively when I was in, about middle school. And that's where it really took off of, oh, I enjoy this sport and I feel like I could be pretty good at the next level.
Now, who are some of your favorite players and teams that you like to watch growing up?
Yeah, growing up, so being from Raleigh, North Carolina, UNC isn't too far down the road. So naturally, I went to camp there every year. And so I think one year after camp, I looked at my dad and I was like, I want to play lacrosse at Carolina. And he said, well, okay, well, everyone wants to play lacrosse at Carolina. And so a little bit funny, ended up going there. So it worked out. But one of my favorite players growing up was actually Selena Lasota, who played at Northwestern, so one of UNC's biggest competitors at the time. I really liked the way that she just made everything look so easy. She played a little bit of a like box lacrosse style, and at the time I was playing box lacrosse as well. So, I looked at a ton of film on her and just really liked the way that she played.
Now, before college, you played for your high school at William Penn Charter. What was that experience like for you playing there? And do you have like a favorite high school lacrosse memory when you look back on it now?
Yeah, so I actually transferred to Penn Charter in Philadelphia my senior year of high school. So it was COVID. So ultimately, I didn't even play lacrosse there. But that was such a learning experience for me. And like my club team was based out of Philadelphia. So I got to go to school with all those girls and not just see them when we were competing over summer tournaments. So that was a really fun experience for me. It helped me, get out of I had been at the same high school since kindergarten, so really helped me expand socially. And in terms of favorite memory, probably field hockey because one, it was the only sport I got to play there, but two, all the lacrosse girls played together. And so we were not like technically sound, but we were really athletic. So we would just run around and we could make these crazy plays and people would have a hard time guarding us because we were just athletes. And so we were just having the time of our lives out there.
That's awesome. Where did you play high school lacrosse, I guess, before that?
Yeah, so I played lacrosse at Ravenscroft out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And, in terms of my favorite memory there, we made it to the conference championship. And that had been a goal of ours for a long time. I mean, we've never won. I think we could have won the next year, but I ended up transferring out and some other girls did as well. But we were a really great team out of Raleigh.
Now, you played club lacrosse for Triple H, so I just want to ask you what that experience was like for you and how it sort of helped prepare you for college lacrosse.
Yeah, so that was extremely important in my development. I played for Triple H under Colleen McGarity, and she was a really big, supporter and mentor of me. She's the reason I actually moved to Philadelphia and I was going to play for her at Penn Charter. And it was really important, mainly because we were top ranked in the country in terms of club lacrosse. And so when we would go play our summer tournaments, we would be playing these top nationally ranked teams. So you're playing your future college competition. So it was already a great step in the right direction in terms of development and, creating connections with these girls that you'd be playing with and against in the future. And so that was a really big developmental aspect of my career.
Now, talk about your initial recruiting process with North Carolina. What made you want to go there versus other schools you might have been looking at, and what led to that decision after when you were going through your high school, I guess, recruiting process?
Yeah, so my parents both went to Carolina and met there. And so all my life, I had really grown up being a Tar Heel fan. And so ultimately, when I got that call from Jenny, it was a no-brainer. I'd love to, I wanted to stay close to home. I knew a ton of future friends going there from high school. My brother was down the road at Duke. And so it was the perfect fit for me at the time to really continue that lacrosse. And so I was really grateful for the opportunity for sure. It was a dream come true.
Yeah, what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse, especially since you didn't get your senior year?
Yeah, COVID made it very difficult in terms of freshman year. That transition was definitely difficult because we never really got the full college experience my freshman year, playing in like the Gators, and we really didn't get to travel everyone. It was a very tough year in terms of transition. I think having those girls around me in the dorms and stuff like that, that was huge in terms of our bonding. The team became really close because it was kind of the only group we could hang out with. So I think that was important in our development for that next year as a team, building that culture, the second you get on campus makes a huge difference down the road, especially when everyone got that fifth year to come back.
Now, during your time with UNC, you only played in 4 games. However, you won two ACC championships and obviously a national championship during your time there. What did you take away from your time with North Carolina, and what was it like being a part of a national championship squad?
Yeah, so like I said, COVID made it really hard because all of those girls got extra years to come back and play, which is great for our team. We were really very strong team. And so, it was really great to be able to learn from all of those players. I mean, we have, half those girls are on like Team USA now. So, really getting that experience as a freshman. And then ultimately, I redshirted my sophomore year and graduated my junior year. So, you know, being able to play every day against those girls in practice, taking 1v1s against Jamie Ortega, Riley Mastriani, that really has developed me into the player that I am today and has helped me grow for sure.
Now, what made you want to enter the transfer portal, and how did you end up at Vanderbilt?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, junior year, I realized that I could actually have the opportunity, credit-wise, to graduate early. And so I ended up overloading credits fall, winter, spring, and then I think I took some in the summer. I graduated in August from UNC. Then I started school at Vanderbilt in August. So I really didn't get any time off in terms of like school. But my brother goes to med school here. He had gotten into Vanderbilt before I entered the portal. And so, him being here, knowing Nashville, I was going to have some family around really made a big difference to me. I've always been close with him. And so, I was like, oh, maybe I'll see a friendly face around campus. And I actually do see him all the time. And so, it was a no-brainer in terms of, Vanderbilt's a great academic school. And, this was a program that I really fit in with when I visited. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity for me.
Yeah, and also, looking at your background, you have a good hat collection, so obviously being in Nashville helps that out a lot.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Now, talk about what it's like playing in the AAC and what are some of the differences between that conference versus the ACC.
Yeah, so the AAC is very competitive and dynamic, I would say. You never know what you're going to get year to year because, the teams, there's always a mix up with like new rosters coming in. We actually have some new added schools into the AAC. So I really, first year programs, you never really know what you're going to get. And then in terms of the ACC, they're bringing in the top talent from across the country year after year, rebuilding those rosters. So, with that, you're going to get, a team that's ultimately competing for a national championship there. And so, they're two different animals, and I would say in terms of the ACC, it'll be really interesting to see, how that conference builds out with those new competitors coming in.
And you get to be coached by Coach Beth Hewitt. What's it like playing for her, and what have you learned from her in your 2 years with the squad so far?
Yeah, so I don't know if you know this, but Beth also played lacrosse at Carolina. So when I, came in and on my visit, we were really able to bond and over that experience. And so I think that was a really big benefit in terms of coming to Vanderbilt as well. Um, and, she always brings a really competitive mindset to practice. And that's something that I always appreciated. She's helped me regain confidence as a player and has really supported me on and off the field and as a person in general. And so I've been very grateful to be able to play under her at this program.
Now, last year your team went 9-8. I'm just curious what you took away from your team's performance last season, and I guess how you hope to build upon that for your grad year.
Yeah, so, we went from a non-winning season into a winning season last year, and I think that just proves what type of different team you can get with us year over year. I think we had a great season last year, but I'm ready to blow that out of the water. I think we can do beyond that. I'm really excited for this year. I mean, we've brought in some great players, we have some great returners, and I think that in terms of our success, I think we have a lot to build off of. And we are really reloading in terms of rosters, so I think it'll be a really great season for us. I think we can build on everything we started with last year.
What do you think's been the biggest improvement you've made to your game that you hope fans will notice when they watch you play?
Yeah, I think I'm a completely different player in terms of confidence. You know, Being at Carolina is a tough place to play. And, I coming here had more opportunity. And I think it's changed the confidence that I've gotten on the field. You know, I definitely have been lucky and grateful in that aspect. But it's definitely given me the platform to thrive as a leader on this team. And I want to instill that in the other players around me so that we can also grow as a unit.
Now, what's been your favorite lacrosse memory with Vanderbilt so far?
Yeah, I would say so. We hosted the AAC tournament last year, and it came down to our final game of the season. It was senior day. It was a win or go home type of game. And the year before, people had said, Cincinnati beat us pretty well. They pretty much beat us. And so, I had come in and I know some other chancellors had come in and we hadn't played Cincinnati before, but so we didn't really know what to expect in that game. But then everyone who stepped on the field really gave 110% effort. And we ultimately came out with the win after a really good, hard fought battle. And so, getting that win on senior day and getting that bid into the tournament and being able to play on our own field for that was a really great experience. And, it just goes to show that like when times are tough, we were able to scrap it out and get the wins.
Now, let's transition to some more broader lacrosse questions. One thing I wanted to ask you was you're playing in a sort of non-traditional lacrosse area in Tennessee. So, what should be done to help grow women's lacrosse, and what have you learned from playing in Vanderbilt that you think could be done to help grow the sport even more?
Yeah, I mean, coming from Raleigh as well, there's very few club teams that you get to pick from. And so, just building out club teams and like when girls are going back to their hometowns, whether it's for jobs, always being able to give back to that community is important. I've done my fair share of coaching around Nashville, to help with the next generation growing their skills. I also think the Olympics is going to be a really important aspect for the sport as well, growing the game and getting it on, national television and ultimately growing it around the world. I think that'll be a really big inspiration for young girls to pick up a stick and try out the sport.
Now, what advice would you give to the younger players who are listening to this on what it, let me rephrase that. What advice would you give younger players who are listening to this who want to be in your shoes one day? Sorry.
No worries. I definitely would say be confident. And that's probably a little bit easier said than done. But one of the best things I've learned about myself is that I am the controller of my own confidence. It's really tough when you let other outside factors be the influence of your own confidence. And so, seeking it out from other sources has never helped me. Ultimately, getting it from within myself and like instilling it in myself has changed the player that I am. And so I think just remembering like, who you are, whether when times get tough or like you might not necessarily see the playing time that you thought, right? Like you just always have to remain confident that you're here for a reason and that your ability is, they believe in you because your ability. But you ultimately have to believe in yourself, and be your own biggest supporter to really bring out that confidence and see your best game. I never played my best game when I wasn't confident in myself. But coming into Vanderbilt and being able to play and, seeing what I can do, it helped me build that confidence for myself.
Now, do you have any shout outs you want to give to your teammates, family members, or friends? And who should we have on the podcast next?
Yeah, I definitely want to give a shout out to Jamie Biscup. She's a returning sixth year now on the team. She was just voted captain, and she was a really big supporter of me last year. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to play with her this year, coming back from her injury. And so, I'm really excited to play with her, and that's who I definitely think you should interview next because she is also a transfer from an ACC school. She's from UVA, and she's brought so much depth into our team and knowledge. And so, yeah, she definitely has been a huge impact on me here.
Well, thank you so much, Brooke, for coming on the podcast. It really means a lot to us, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your day. It means a lot to us, like I said, and obviously, we wish you all the best for your upcoming season. I know you're going to do great, and obviously, wishing you all the best for any future endeavors that you might have after you graduate.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for the opportunity to be on here and can't wait to see where you guys go with the podcast.